Welcome, folks, to those who possibly may watch this live or those who may watch this in the future. Welcome to the Night Owl Lounge. Now, we call this one open bar because we didn't particularly need to do anything on this one or have any particular theme. At this point, after the 420 episode, which went really well, I enjoyed it. I had a great time. Was able to get through. Was able to get through the entirety of Mac and Devin Go to High School. I mean, there were a couple of little bit of technical issues there with the movie, but I mean, we're having fun here. It's 420. It's good vibes. We got to see the movie. We got to enjoy the movie, and outside of a small copyright warning toward the beginning of the movie, which we were able to get past thanks to some great help from the live viewers that were watching at that point. We were able to get through it and get to a great movie. So, with an open bar at this point, it's sort of just free to invention, I guess you can say. Mental invention, I guess you can kind of put it. So we sit in front of the grand old, new plasma type. We sit here in front of the old TV here, and as we fire it up, I sat back and I thought, what, what thing that I want to do? What is sort of loungy, I guess you could say, you know, and it kind of comes to me. I'm sorry, I go out of frame here, but it kind of comes to me that, yeah, I really didn't do the comedy thing. Now I did my own comedy routine, making fun of certain people, But that was more of just sort of lashing out a little bit, but in a little bit more of a funny, irreverent way, more or less. I was still having fun with it. I still like to try to get back up on the microphone, the fake microphone right now, because it's not actually working. But give us time. My creative partner and I, by the way, let me go ahead and start doing this right away, because this, of course, is connected to and affiliated by, as always, 7 Day Island. And that's connected to the MC, 7 Day, aka Marley Sheen. This is also connected to our creative partnership, which is connects to Mainframe Magazine. Of course, if you know me, then you know I'm connected to Mainframe Magazine, which brings together the creative partnership of Delinquent Studios at Delinquent underscore crew on Twitter and at Delinquent Crew, spelled CRU, on Facebook. We also are at Delinquent Crew on YouTube as well. Content will start to come to our YouTube page very shortly as we're starting to work on shows and everything like that. The one thing in particular we're going to work out on is a hip hop show. It's going to be a thing of, what happens when you put a not only a hip hop journalist, but in the purposes of this particular program that we're going to put together. Yes, I'm a hip hop journalist. But don't mistake it, folks. I'm a music journalist. I love hip hop, real hip hop. I love rock, punk, metal, ska. I love folk music. I love, what I'm saying? I even love a bit of pop when it's actually good and palatable. I'll even talk to you about what pop is. I always have to get more into music conversations. I'll start to do that for the Mainframe Magazine page, but I'll also start to do that for the Delinquent Studios page. Doing more in-depth type of things. With the Delinquent Studios page, I want to start, disrupting things, interrupting people, interrupting thought processes over on Delinquent Studios when I do certain things, like, for example, when we start speaking on the Jam Master Jay situation, rehashing that conversation because, I'm not sure where it's went. And I'm just bringing it up right now because I intend on doing some more looking into the situation, seeing what's been found, what hasn't been found, because there's still some things that perplex me about that whole situation. And I'm going to discuss it on the Delinquent Studios channel. And also speaking about the Biggie and Tupac situation, more about what's been developed, how everything's been pieced together as far as my viewpoint, what I felt before, how things have progressed, and where I kind of stand on it overall right now. So that's where we'll be going with things with Delinquent Studios and hip hop shows and other things that we'll be doing together. Whatever our brains can conceive, we'll try our best to bring it to you. So basically, tonight, I wanted to take a moment while we had good vibes and everything seems to be okay. Is I didn't bring along much of the comedy. Okay, so there's a lot of people that I feel like in the way of comedy that I feel like are very outspoken, very opinionated, and they bring a lot of intelligence to what they bring to the table and bring to the stage as far as comedic timing, as far as punchlines and things like that. They've also helped me as far as being a writer and helped me to be less wordy at times when I need to be and more quick on the timing, more one liners, more thinking quick on my feet. So, excuse me, folks. Let's get here. So, with that being said, I want to bring attention to the people that I feel like were big influences in the comedic range of the situation to my development and what I feel like it's just I feel like there's awesome people in my book going just way back. So I feel like people like Don Rickles, Red Fox. Even as I research and I go, Lenny Bruce it had a lot of it had a lot of flavor and it's had a lot of underrated cult appeal I mean, because he was big back then. A lot of people bring him up. REM has brought him up, and reference the end of the world as we know it by REM, and you'll hear his name right in why that'd be one of the first lines, I believe. But also Andrew Dice Clay, Robin Harris, D.L. Hughley. These are people who not only were very clever, very sharp, they thought on their feet. Sometimes they would come out and just basically rail on the people who were in the front row. That's the kind of dynamic thing that they brought. George Carlin, by the way, there, so that's another one that that I build, you know, excuse me, Jim Norton is another one. Patrice O'Neill is someone else that comes up, that comes up in my time, and I will also have to. I cannot believe that I am forgetting this this comedian's name that was gone way too soon. But I will be looking him up, and I will be bringing him up because as the time goes by, and we try to do a compilation, we try to do each person justice. Okay, wow. A lot of nature going on around here, folks, but I do apologize. But as we try to do everyone justice, we're not going to get everyone here. But this guy, I can definitely tell you, although his name escapes me and it's really making me want to kick myself in the ass, this guy has been famously linked to looking like Alex Jones. That's that's one of the main things that circulated over the last couple of years is that he sort of weirdly looks like Alex Jones, and people sort of wonder did he fake his death and sort of come back as Alex Jones? But he's an outspoken comedian that had a lot of outspoken views, and he was definitely gone way too soon. So it's a lot of these comedians that I feel like, along with the Dave Chappelle's, the Richard Pryors, but we already know those guys. But there's a lot of comedians that people may not know about, and may hear of their legend and hear a lot of us in certain circles speak about George Carlin, but people don't really know George Carlin. People who have never really, they may have seen him in a certain movie like Jersey Girl, but that doesn't give you an accurate depiction of what the kind of talent, the kind of mind that a guy like George Carlin was. So, this is where the lounge, I think, and our no holds barred approach, things that may get us banned. I've done shows already that's got me banned in certain countries. I've done shows that have, you know, that have crossed the line here and there because, here's the lounge, man. How many famous or infamous lounges where things go on, mob hangouts, deals have gone on, in the corners of rooms, over drinks, under tables, exchanges, money, drugs, hits, whatever. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's sort of weird, so how I was connecting, and what I spoke about the shows that I'm going to be trying to do on the Delinquent, the Delinquent Studios channel here on YouTube, is talking about how, yeah, we're going to speak about, yeah, it's already well spoken about that supposedly, allegedly, I guess they say, you know, a hit was being carried out, was being, set up and carried out and detailed in a strip club, amongst people, to take out, the notorious B.I.G. It's funny how life works. It's funny how, even, the cover and the noise of a place like that can conceal, a great many things. A loud club, people being distracted by the women, the drinks, the ass, hey, people could be talking about a number of things and you never even know what was going on around you. So, I mean, but that's only the least of what I'm going to be covering in, the actual, conversation of what's up to now. I'm going to be speaking about, Tupac's mother, her involvement and her stance on certain people still wanting to dig into her son's murder as it stands right now. That's what I'm looking to discuss. I'm looking to discuss certain points that have come up, even in my mind, that where I couldn't put my finger on it before, and why I had this instinct of feeling like Puffy and whomever was involved in what happened to Notorious B.I.G. I couldn't quite put it together. I couldn't quite give the information that was, so that was sort of at this point, give any credence to what I was saying. You know, it's kind of hard when you're a kid and something like this shocks you. You really don't have a moment where this really goes on. That was like the first for me, really. So it was like, my mother, and whatnot, her growing up, with the musicians that she grew up with, they had a lot of turmoil going on. Which is kind of weird. See, this is kind of great. That we're here in the lounge, we're having drinks, we're doing that thing, we're reflecting back on a lot of the people that might be lounge singers, that might, as you might hear in an old school lounge somewhere in Vegas, old mob hangout, old real cool slick ass hangout, not an old man hangout, not an old cornball hangout, not a faded joke of a hangout. By the way, I mean, oh, okay, no, folks, we're not gonna do that. We're not gonna protest. Okay, we're not gonna do that because we're okay. We've taken care to do things. You know, we've I've basically seen to some things personally. So that's probably why there's not a whole lot of interactive chat going on. There's not a whole lot of haters and looker-ons that are coming into the because I've kind of seen to them personally. Because I wanted to take a moment to kind of send my own little message out here while I had the time to do it. And the thing of the matter is, folks, is that people think, I was once told, once upon a time, that I didn't understand about trolls, about what real trolls were, and things of that nature. I passed that along. That's fine. Big brother, little brother situation. Yeah, I don't know trolls. That's fine. Although I went after people, exposed people for shills, for intentional actual trolls that work for corporations. I dealt with that. I exposed that. I was a part of battling with that, especially during the rise of the Tea Party and things of this nature, and the protests, especially during the time that Anonymous was really in the news and really making a lot of noise. So I know a lot about those trolls and how those battles can go on for days. The disinformation that they put out, the wedges that they try to implement in different situations, they're there. That's what trolls do. Trolls go in and they say the things that are going to inflame people. They say things and they make implications that are going to just really just charge people up because they want to get people just all confused, all spun around, all chasing after something. So as long as you're battling with them, you're not moving forward towards your cause. You're not putting out the information that you need to put out. You're not doing what you need to do. But see, that was fine. That was not my problem because I could easily go and put out information and do what I'm doing and still make their life a living hell at the same time. It was never a problem. So I dealt with that, and that was like years ago. That was like years ago in my like mid 20s, maybe. That I was doing stuff like that. So it was never a big whoop. So now what I've dealt with over time doing these shows was not dealing with trolls. So I don't deal with them in the way that I would deal with a troll because it's not what you think it is. The names, the names, the figures, the comments that come up here, it's not about trolling. It's about controlling. And that's ultimately what troll is all about. It's a slang term for controlling. The people who come and they bother you, All of this time was a systematic attempt. At this point, in my particular situation, it was a systematic attempt to make me either we're going to bother you and insult you to where you get upset, you get enraged. And maybe we can hit that angle of the angry black man angle, which I then told you was a character at which I was playing. I was playing into Mark Dice, but because I'm a black man, I have to play into who I am as a black man. So in that particular situation and instance, I played into the role. I was confrontational. I took on all these comments and insulted back and all this good stuff like that because that's what Mark Dice was doing. Mark Dice, in stepping out and years after William Cooper's death, to basically do a YouTube, to write a book, and then to do a YouTube video at which he then breaks down even further, tries to break down and to even further promote his book. He breaks down the actual, he tries to, I guess, rip apart more, dissect more of Behold a Pale Horse and make William Cooper look like just a crazy old drunk. But a crazy old drunk that once upon a time had Alex Jones, his mentor, his idol, on his show. So say what you want, feel how you want about William Cooper. But I mean, come on, man. To call him just some old drunk, to call him just some old crazy. When this man accurately spoke on the 9/11 tragedy and spoke on the fact that Osama bin Laden would be blamed for the event. I mean, are we serious right now? Okay, but anyway, that is another conversation for another time. As a matter of fact, that will be a conversation for the Cooper Matrix, which will be coming back. No one will ruin the Cooper Matrix. No one will buzz in and fool us again. Fool them once, won't get fooled again. Or AKA, fool me one time, shame on, what I'm saying, shame on you. Fool me twice, can't put the blame on you. Fool me three times, fuck the peace sign. Okay, well, if you know J. Cole, you know the rest. But basically, it's just saying that, hey, you know what? Sometimes you want to get out here, you make connections, you want to show that I'm not an asshole, that I want to trust people, I want to work with people, I want to connect with good people that have something good to offer, and sometimes you get played. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to preface that on. You know, sometimes it happens. Sometimes you trust, and sometimes your trust gets broken. It happens. It happens in different aspects of our lives. What can you do? But basically, just kind of bringing, back to the old, to the old, saying singers and old, saying lounge, saying heads and, saying different music and different things of that nature. Like I was saying before, my mother had went through a lot of different tragedies, people, killing themselves, people drinking or drugging themselves to death, people having to, people being broken by the industry and going and maybe going down that way, just maybe just, health degenerating, things of this nature. You just never know. You never quite know. So it becomes a it becomes a more commonplace thing for them, but it still hurts. And maybe in this time this is the hurting part for us. You know, the people that now it's like before they can even get off the ground, before they can even really take off and really show their potential, they're being taken out. People that maybe if given a chance, they might have been able to get out from under those things, like a Nipsey Hussle, who was able to get out from under a lot of the things that he grew up around, but only to be gunned down in front of the many endeavors that he put out there in the LA area. You know, this is the hurting point. You know, we thought the worst was with Tupac and with Biggie and having that go on in our era. We thought that the worst was with, Kurt Cobain. But now, yeah, Scott Weiland from Stone Temple Pilots. For those of us who grew up in the 90s, who became teenagers in the 90s, you know, Scott Weiland, Stone Temple Pilots, gone, overdose. Chris Cornell, you know, of Soundgarden fame, Temple of the Dog, but that was, a little bit before my time, but Soundgarden fame, Audio Slave, solo efforts, suicide, possibly broken, as we hear, possibly broken as a result of the Chris Cornell suicide, possibly, allegedly, suicide by Chester Bennington of course, the great band Linkin Park. Now, there are other people in other circles that I move in that will say that Chester, Chris, that there was something more sinister afoot because Chester and Chris often spoke of things that most people felt like were dangerous to speak of in the industry, especially for those people of their stature, to speak of things like that in their industry. Most people then will reference Michael Jackson. Most people will then reference Prince as, speaking. And then most people also some people will even reference Jim Carrey. And speaking about things in the industry, it's dangerous because it can really affect you, especially a certain status of an artist. So of an artist, actor, what have you. So just saying that maybe this is the hurting time for us. Even people like pop culture people that are starting to influence on the media that made it, like Stevie Ryan. Those of you who may or may not know, I don't know. Again, if you internet, then you may know about Stevie Ryan. Stevie Ryan basically popped hard on the internet, and so much so that VH1, or you might as well just say Viacom, because Viacom oversees VH1, MTV, as well as BET. So depending on what type of flavor that they bring or what area that they're kicking to, whatever race, color, whatever their criteria, they place certain people that they feel like are really popping and influencing in the current culture, where they feel like they'll have the most effect. So I guess they felt like, I'm not sure why it wasn't MTV, but it was VH1 that they chose to put Stevie TV on. A little, one woman sort of sketch show where Stevie basically goes out there in all her irreverence and, does different impressions. Sort of a low key Britney impression. She would do a girl that would also was just really just that would just really sort of had this attitude that she can sort of like force anybody or sort of just mentally bully anybody into believing anything. Among other things, she would spoof the Kardashians and things of this nature. So it was just a lot of different references that she would sort of play into that she felt like her look and her character could work into. So, but broken, feeling broken and depressed of the death of her grandfather, said that she also committed suicide at, saying pretty soon after that point, and it's very sad. For those who, and again, I hate speaking about this, and I like, but again, it's a part of the hurting point that maybe we're getting a part of. That maybe as our kids are getting older and we're seeing the certain people, but it's sort of weird. We're now paralleled in the same areas now. The same people that we're now the same people that we're now familiar with, that we're now connected to in certain ways, they're now connecting to. So now we're sort of suffering a parallel loss at the same time. It's sort of like the way I would guess you could say Prince, in a way, like with Prince. Like even with Michael Jackson, it's sort of a parallel in the way between our generation and our parents and whatnot. As okay, look at what's happening with them, but there's certain people in certain depths, like with Big L, for example. Big L, maybe Freaky Ty from, the Lost Boys and things like that, Jam Master Jay and things like that, to where that may not be a connection. That's something that's a hurt all of our own, which is why I'm discussing it in a show on, on the Delinquent Studios channel, excuse me, because that's a hurt that's our own generation's hurt because that was people that we grew up with and that we looked up to. I certainly did. Run DMC for me was the start of hip hop for me personally. That's definitely where a connection started. But but I'm getting off track. We're getting here, but the point of the matter is that you know legends, connections, people that we know, that we look at, for media, for inspiration, things of that nature. It all comes together in the lounge, and I like speaking about it, and it all comes through here because it's all about the lounge here, music, kicking back, having a couple of drinks, enjoying your time. As a matter of fact, hey, I might you might have been seeing me in the you might have been seeing me in the luminescence of the black light while the theme music was going along. You know, I might have been taking a drink, but hey, we can take drinks here, man. I don't want to. I don't want to. Age restrict my shows. I thought about it, but the thing is, especially when it comes to these things, this is not something that I would normally do on just an everyday show basis, unless it's specifically geared towards that. And I'm making sure that I'm at least referencing in the title that is geared towards that. And then maybe I might put a little bit of my own personal disclaimer, but that's probably about the only thing that I'm willing to do. Because if you're not watching your kids, if you're not looking out for what they're watching and what they're up on and things like that, then what are you doing? You know, if your kid is up at almost 2 in the morning, okay, now in California, even in California still, okay, still talking about 1, 12, 11. So if you're still up at almost midnight and you're still up and you're watching a show like this, I mean, but let's be honest, no one's watching this show right now. So you have time, folks. You have time before this show comes out. The Night Owl Lounge is not for the not hey, the young at heart is fine here, but the young at heart is still over the age of 18 at the very least. Now you're drinking and you're imbibing your whatever, it's up to you. I can't control that either. But again, getting off track, folks. We have to get into the start as quickly as we can of our tribute. Once again, I want to look and caption, see how this goes. We're going to do a compilation of the best Don Rickles jokes. Now, they may be a little tame because it's YouTube, and you know, I don't know how badly they're going to show, or they're going to show videos of him ripping into people and ripping into people when he's doing his live on stage shows. But we'll see. We'll check it out. I'll be here to talk, and hopefully we have it in the right space to where we don't offend anybody. But hopefully, only people who would understand that I'm only doing my best here to honor Don Rickles, to honor Andrew Dice Clay, to honor Red Fox, to honor Robin Harris, to honor these gentlemen, to honor George Carlin, to honor these guys are it's just basically a part of what we do. So I'm not trying to get any copyright hits. I'll do the best I can. I'm not trying to offend anyone. I'm not trying to take anything from anyone. I'm not trying to make any money off anyone. I just want to honor the situation. I'm getting in practice off essentially also. Getting better all the time. I don't sound so much like I'm just a stuttering mess. Maybe because I'm assured of the situation. Maybe because I went through the worst of it, of the haters, of the naysayers, of the people that just couldn't move on in a mature professional way. But possibly, maybe over time, maybe the 420 weekend is gone, it's come and gone, and maybe they've decided that it's just time to move on themselves. Good vibe. You tried, but it's just no stopping. We're gonna move on. It's just time to move on. That's all. But that being said, it's time to move on with the show. Time to move on with our first one, my personal favorite, one of the guys that I like the most because he was a guy that, Red Fox is definitely up there. Red Fox, it's hard to rate. And maybe I ought to take some time and rate these guys, rank them. Who knows? But Don Rickles is my favorite because he was a guy that had people feel like a vicious way of comedy, but it was a vicious comedy that sort of unified people. Make be able to make fun of yourselves. Be able to have a good sense of humor about yourself. He's not being racist towards you. He doesn't hate you. He doesn't. If anything, he would hate a German. But it's all about having a good sense of humor. And everything. So as a Jewish man and doing what he does, so let's just see. Let's see how it goes. Don Rickles. So let's get to a moment of synchronization, if we can. Don Rickles and getting to the start of his compilation. Let's go 1, 2. Okay, 1 second here. One thing I do want to do because I'm noticing something so that we don't have any issues because we can mute this out, of course, because we don't need that sound. We just need to be able for you to see it at least. But I mean, not too much to see. I mean, it's comedy, but it's not like he's going to be up here dancing and singing. But let's just go ahead and do it anyway. 1, 2, 3.
Be funny.
Good evening, Mr. President. Nice to see you, sir. And your lovely wife, Nancy. It's a big treat for me to fly all the way from California to be here for this kind of money. Nice to see you, Secretary Schultz. What are you doing in town? Anyway, he's sitting there like there's nothing going on. Get busy. Go over to the embassy. Have a bucket of beluga. Anyway, Secretary of State's
Okay,
here.
let's turn out the lights
And
here.
Billy Graham, nice to see you, sir. This hand is bothering me. Anyway, it's great, though. I make fun of the president. Why not? I make fun of everybody. Look, that's America. Laugh at Charlton Heston. I'm a friend. It's over. I'll tell you this. If you were Moses, I was a Mau Mau fighter pilot. Is this too fast, Ronnie? Anyway, he's sitting there looking at the program going, where does he say he makes fun of me? Where does it say that? Remember when you were governor and you used to walk over to my table? Now you're big. You're getting on my nerves. I'll tell you this. Is he laughing? If you see Marines coming towards me, go into glory, glory, hallelujah, and shoot Webster. Anyway, I must say, this is a joyous occasion, really. I personally voted for Wilkie. But I'll tell you this. To you, Mrs. Reagan, lovely Mrs. Reagan, to you, our dear president, may God be good to you and you are Jewish. God bless. I laugh at the blacks, the whites, the purples, mostly the blacks.
The funniest thing for me is watching people respond because they sort of act like they're a little bit indignant, but they're so glad that he picked them.
I'm only kidding you, Bubba. The black people belong in this country. Chinese, Japanese, Filipino, my ass, you're a Jap. I'll tell you this. 3 years in the jungle looking for your uncle.
Everybody wants to get shit on by Don Rickles.
What am I bid for this broad before I introduce her? Look at this, the old guy went for $1. Oh, it's very good. But not if you're into comedy. I have based my whole humor on laughing at bigotry. I laugh at Will Chamberlain. Ha 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 ha. But if you don't laugh back, it's not funny. Is that your wife, sir? Jesus Christ. I'll tell you this. What was it, a train? And I love the Italian people. I'll never forget the word of Carmine Danganonzo, who said to me in Brooklyn on a Saturday night. No, you're Catholic and I'm a Jew, and Sammy, you're black. I'm sorry. You know, I never tell the truth. I exaggerate. I make fun of blacks, whites, Jews, well, Jews.
See?
You're Chinese, right? Chinese? This girl here? If you're not, get your eyes fixed. Look at the Chinese one sitting there going, who's Chinese? Who's Chinese? Phyllis Diller, ladies and gentlemen, who, when she was born, God ran out of clay and made her face trick-or-treat Charlie. Her former husband said on the wedding night, no! Bob Newhart made the claim that he was my closest friend. I have never met Bob Newhart. I'll put it to you another way. Bob Newhart goes to many gay parties. I like you very much, Tully. I like you more than I thought I would like you. Please sit down, because we could be married in an hour. That's what's in your heart, right, Sam? Be proud. Brothers, we kiss, we hug. Any black on my lips? Don't write letters, folks. We cover them all. My first guest, our new ambassador to the UN. This year is
That's the whole thing. I mean, come on, you gotta have a sense of humor, especially if the guy's making fun of somebody else, man. I mean, it's not like he's a racist. I want to believe that. It will break my heart if he was, folks. It will break my heart if he was truly a racist.
What an evening, Mike. It's so good to see you. I didn't know you were still on. Yeah. But this is a good jacket. You come in tomorrow night with cotton candy, you work the corner. Anyway, did I say something since I've seen you? We've gotten so old. 19 years, John. That's right. Don't milk it anymore. Walk away.
You see, I try to do one show for a long time rather than 6 or 7 like you for a month or two, and then.
No. When you're that big, you're allowed to turn on a little guy who lives in 2 rooms on Figueroa with a busted accordion. Look right in there and let America know you're a millionaire and you don't need them. Right.
Jesus, you know, this is...
I'm a millionaire. I don't need it. Don't do that to me.
But now we're both happily married. So you went through a couple of warm-ups, but I want to tell you something as a friend. Really. With these 2 lovely Japanese girls, you made a fool of yourself. Can I give it a couple of minutes? No. Give me a break. I'm so lonely. You never liked me. You never liked me. You like Newhart better than me. You always did. You're right.
You finally dragged it out of me, didn't you?
I'll do the fun.
Thank you, of course.
Win. I don't. Nobody else has said it, and I say it from my heart. You're a lousy actor. Don't forget, folks, when you see Clint Eastwood in your local drive-in theaters, drive right into the screen. I'll tell you something. If we work together again,
Tremendous, folks. Tremendous.
I'm going to the VA, and I'm going to be asked to be sent back to Vietnam. Just stay there in the jungle and
and black in my face and nobody finds me. I don't want to see you again, you just really don't come around anymore. The voice is weak. You stink. You're not good, you stink. And stay out of my life, bitches. And keep that AM show off. And I never want to see you again. I'll be gonna boil him in there. My first line to Frank was, stand up, Frank, be yourself and hit somebody. And all the guys with him went, is that funny, Frank?
Who's your favorite male singer?
Honest?
Yeah.
Dick Haynes. Everybody around couldn't believe I had the macaroons to say this to them. And I did. And when I came home, my cousin was on a hook in the living room.
No. Marco Manganonzo was hurt.
Marco Manganonzo.
Bambino Bombazzo. Bullets in the head first.
I've had a feeling.
Again, folks, he always looking. This is like the pokes fun at just the little things that people think about. You know, the little stares and little questions that they have. He pokes fun at it. That was the great thing about, you know what I'm saying, about, like, you know, like your friends. You know, if we're not really friends, we can't make fun of what people say. Oh, Frank Sinatra's in the mob. Frank Sinatra's a mob figure and shit like that. If you can't make fun of that and he's your friend, then I mean, how are we really friends? I'm just gonna be scared of you. Come on.
Gone. Everybody doesn't have to be funny all the time. And Don proved again tonight.
Whenever you see me, just don't stop to chat. Frank, wait a second. Frank, don't walk out. I'm just starting to go. Give me a break, Frank.
Before you jump all over me from the...
Jump all over you, Frank. Not that long. They say, God bless you. I love you dearly, Frank.
And I tell you, we have been blessed to have such a man. Good night. Can I say something? You're supposed to say I should have known better. I'm saying. For the kind of money you're making, what do you do? Learn the thing. You gotta pop out for it. Sit there and start. With your method ending with the breathing. Let's get out of here.
See, it's just amazing, man. It's just, come on, you gotta love that. You have to love that.
This is Julio ring. I look around the room and I realize now, aside from Clint Eastwood, I'm the biggest name here.
Now, I kid around about people. I got a reputation. Ricardo Montalban, a good friend. You know this. I got a reputation of being, like Newsweek said, the merchant of venom, destroys stars. You people in the back, this is not true. I love people, really. Ricardo, why do I kid you? Why? Because I don't like you.
Tell you out there, America, our governor is dumb. Dean Martin said to me when Governor Reagan or Regan, whatever they call you, I don't care.
Russell Wells, ladies and gentlemen, has been a great star for so many years. This man was married to a great many women in his life. They're all flat now.
Marty, when we see all the films you did, none of them were great. De Niro is sitting there. He's one of the great actors of our time. You ask him. I'm singing in the rain. I'm singing in the rain.
1890, lay down.
Was this London? I must be honest. I never liked Lucille Ball. I never did. I've seen Peck in many, many movies, and I say from the bottom of my heart, as an actor, he is weak. Julia Roberts, you live next to me at the beach. You know that. I'm living about 2 blocks from you. Little broad never shows up. Come by and say hello.
We're closer than 2
You
blocks.
have no lines, Julia. Just nod. My wife told me the people like to see it.
By the way, she'd be with us tonight, my lovely wife Barbara, but unfortunately she swam in our pool today with her jewelry on and drowned. There's no booing, there's no booing. If there's another outburst, we're gonna let Bob Hope up and do his job. It's gonna be with Dave. You're sitting here like you're a Monsignor in Chicago or something. She's laying in bed with the jewelry signaling ships. What do? You sit in the farm and watch a bird dive, and every time we made love, she started to whistle. It was great, though. There was a little mouse in a state prison. If he was alive, I wouldn't be doing that. I'd be out here with wheels on my ass, sitting like this.
I mean, look at how long this guy's been doing it, man. Look at how long he's been doing it.
I'm saying she's a lovely woman.
Show stealer and dirty work, by the way. Love him in that. Didn't even realize because I discovered the Addams Family way too late, but then realized until I did some research that Don Rickles was in an episode of the Addams Family. But before we get into this one,
From Casino, the boss of warmth, Don Rickles.
we'll try to get back to that at the very least. But just want to take a moment if I could. I know the camera's showing that as well, but just take a moment again. Just take a break here. We're getting into about an hour, and I just want to make sure that I'm keeping cognizant. The night owl, sometimes we have that effect on the neighbors, man. Even though we're trying to be considerate, sometimes we get the ire of the neighbors sometimes. Let's just do some little calm down here. There we go. Apologize for that, folks. Now, I'm hoping that you can hear me here, folks. I just want to take a moment to at least say that there have been shows that I've done. Let's one second. There we go. Just a little bit, real quick. I just want to take a moment to say that there have been a couple of shows that I've done in the past that is spoken on comedy as it stands right now. Comedy as from what it used to be, from the times of the George Carlins. But even then, George Carlin was already letting us know, how things were going to be censored, how there's certain things that you can and can't say for whatever reasons. Just check out George Carlin and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But basically, but there was even a debate where it was spoken on Roseanne Barr and feeling like that the evolution or the de-evolution of comedy is what got her the most in trouble, and what she had to say about Valerie Jarrett. And those of you who may or may not know is when she spoke about Valerie Jarrett looking like, Muslim Brotherhood and Planet of the Apes had a baby. Now, I'd like to preface that what I often said was it's more of a situation where Roseanne Barr took an opportunity to say something and to take a obvious shot that she didn't need to take, especially at a point where things were going so well. She didn't need to go there. It's more of like saying, it's more of like making fun of someone for an obvious disability, for an obvious perceived flaw. And then people not really responding well to it because it's like, okay, why would you just sit there and do that? I mean, okay, but why would you do that? And that becomes a situation that got Roseanne as a comedian in trouble because she made this tweet that people thought would be funny, that people thought would, oh, it's a vicious jab, but it's a slippery slope. We start talking about apes. You know, that's the whole thing that people start looking at right away. You know, right as soon as they hear it, as soon as it starts getting out, they start focusing on the ape conversation. They start focusing on, you know, is she racist? Is she saying this because she has a racist agenda or she has a racial, you know what I'm saying, charged viewpoint and she's now just trying to, you know, really jab at this person? You have to wonder. But I don't wonder about that. I just say that she made a calculated mistake. She stepped, you know, so she went at a certain situation in a way that she shouldn't have. You know, there are people who are very sensitive about apes. And it's more of the disinformation and manipulation that makes them that way. Another thing that we can discuss at another time. But let's see. That went pretty well. That went about as well as as you could ask for. You know, when it comes to somebody like Don Rickles. You know, could we dedicate some more time? Could we see? Is there something that we missed? There was one coming up just now that, you know, could say, you know, that it maybe could provide a little bit more of what we missed in the first compilation, and then maybe we can be done from there. You know, I don't know. We'll see, but we'll try to get it. We'll try to sync back up again, and I know that some of you people out there may be looking and saying, "Hey, you know what, man? That other one wasn't quite in sync." I understand. I know. I'm trying to get better at this. You know, this is a way we need to work this, and I'm trying to work it out in the best way that I can. You know, so let's get here and let's get synced up. Okay, I think we're there. And 3. Okay, 1 second. You can see I was about to screw up. And 3, 2, 1.
From Casino, the pit boss of warmth, Don Rickles.
I think I did better that time. I think I
Now,
did better
11
that time.
o'clock, and I'm fed up and tired. Marty, I would address somebody get a phone book so you can see me. Marty, when we see all the films you did, none of them were great.
Whoops. Okay. Already covered on that one, folks. Please. Sorry.
No, it's true. You know, Bob and I did like 8 pictures together. We would put everything we had into each, and we'd always be excited about doing the next one. Then we did Casino with Don 20 years ago, and we haven't worked together since. Now, it's amazing, Don, the influence you had on our careers.
Yeah, Don, on behalf of Leo DiCaprio, thanks a lot. Marty, you are the most annoying director I ever had. De Niro is sitting there. God bless you, Bob. He's got the beard on. To know him is a treat. He's one of the great actors of our time. You ask him.
There's another one, folks. Already covered. Ooh.
We didn't need a star.
It's
We needed
like-
just a Jew who would, work cheap and who would we could bury in a bit part. A couple of lines in the background, a few shots, like that. So Jackie Mason wasn't available, so what did we get? Don Rickles. It was a true collaboration, right, Don?
I see something. You're supposed to say I should have known better. For the kind of money you're making, what do you do?
Learn the thing. You got to pop out trailers. Sit in here and study.
Yeah. Oh.
Your method acting with the breathing.
This one is not going well as far as the very best of Don Rickles. I mean, they kind of piggybacking right off the first video.
So
Come on.
we see each other mainly at award ceremonies and memorial services, like tonight. We wanted to honor your memory, Don, so here we are. Though if I'd been directing this, I don't think I would have gone for the open casket.
Ooh, that was a shot of Harvey Weinstein. Hey.
Rest in peace, old friend. And yes, he knew Sinatra, and he managed to say it in every goddamn sentence he ever said. Yeah, I knew Frank. Frank loved me. There was Frank in my front row. Frank always came to see me. I told Frank this. I told Frank that. I'm so sick of hearing about Frank Sinatra. Enough already. It made me want to tell Frank to go himself. I mean, I don't know how to tell you this, Don, but Frank is dead. Coincidentally, that is also the average age of your fans.
Not quite. Not quite, folks.
Another number of the band.
Not quite.
Recording session tonight, and really, I'll be happy.
Marco Mangananzo was hurt.
Marco Mangananzo.
Trombino Bombazzo. 2 bullets in the head Thursday. I brought a friend.
Who is your friend?
That's why I came in. I've been trying to set this up for 10 years.
What are you saying?
Oh, wait a minute.
I'm bringing a friend, Artie.
Oh, this better be who I think it is.
I'm bringing a friend, Artie. Where is she?
Can I predict
And
who I think
where
it
is she?
Dave Coulier?
Yeah, good one.
Oh, yeah.
Look, where is
Look at
she?
the friend.
You got some music, Fred? You got
There he
this,
is. Don Rickles. Ladies and gentlemen, Don Rickles.
Get up,
The man.
Benji.
Wow.
Yeah, really?
It's a real comedian.
Yeah. We were just in a room full of hacks.
Mr.
That's what a
Rickles.
real comedian looks like.
Mr. Rickles.
The man works in a closet.
Mr. Rickles, you don't have to give me a copy of what
Already,
you're reading.
There's something in there about that you should read.
Thank you. All right, I will read it. Don Rickles wrote a book.
Yes.
Don Rickles is my hero.
Wait a minute, put on, get
Gary, leave him alone.
The hell is this?
Let him sit down. What are you doing to him? You hung out with Sinatra, Carson, all the big names. And did you feel you were at a low point in your life when you had to do Artie's movie?
No,
Dirty work.
this
I would
is.
stand out of respect for the entire interview.
John Stamos told me for years that he was friendly with you, and I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't
didn't
believe him for a minute. Like, why would a guy, if you're intellectual,
Yeah, my intellect.
and your comedic ability, why would you?
What do you see?
What are you seeing him?
Because
Who's around for you to
well,
see?
he says he wants me to nice the girl and settle down. But every time we go to dinner, how it's no joke. I mean, they come over to the table and go, John, you call me. And I said, what is that, John? Nothing. I know nothing. I just want to have a nice meal and eat a nice girl.
Does he tell you about his sex life?
No,
No, he doesn't.
No, he's very, very quiet about
Are
that.
you jealous of his sex life ever?
No, I had my chances. Hey, when I was his age, I wasn't laying around in the house with a Mormon book in my hand.
When I read your book, the Don Rickles book,
Yeah.
and I'm reading it right now, you paint
awesome.
yourself as a loser with
Great.
women early on in
I
your
was.
life.
You know, You know why? And I think maybe, I don't know if you had that problem when you were a young man.
Well, look at me. What do you think my problem was?
You look like a Jew Zulu. That's what you look like.
Now, the greatest moment in that movie that you did with Artie is when you, I think you ad-libbed that you turned to him and you said,
Oh, yes. 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 Oh, my God.
Fuck of a Laura on a bad day. You baby gorilla. Why don't you work a zoo and stop bothering people? Got a call yesterday from Baskin Robbins. They said that they're down to only 5 flavors. You're swelling up as I talk to you.
you look at you baby gorilla.
And you talk to the Baskin and Robbins in his stomach. I love that.
You addressed the food in his stomach, which I thought was a stroke of genius.
How's this? How's it doing? Hello, ice cream. Having a good time? Running around?
Oh, my
I
God.
love that. And Artie, that was your single greatest moment.
Well, it's the greatest moment in the history of my career. I not only told it on this show, I said the first time I ever do the David Letterman show, I'm going to get the segment producer in a headlock if he doesn't let me tell that story first. So I've told it here and I've told it on Letterman.
It is a classic.
It's just, I got to be on the screen with one of the legends, man. And
Why
it was
are you hollering up here?
The first day of shooting, we have to work with the great Don Rickles.
Tremendous.
Okay.
That's tremendous.
Now, that's good and bad. I'm happy to meet him, but I'm afraid I'm just going to bust out laughing because Don Rickles, coincidentally enough, plays a guy who insults me and Norm.
Oh, my God. I love that movie. I love him in that
You've got a
movie.
bunch of lines to learn, and that's a mistake. You know,
His-
he's a master
his
at it.
short
So
part,
finally, he couldn't
You know
really
what I'm saying?
remember lines.
Look,
He'd say, "Don, look,
my
look
favorite
at
part,
Norm and
though,
Artie, look at these
the
two
phone, his
schlubs."
answer
And
machine
just
message.
insult them off the top of your head. So this is the first shot of the movie, and I got Don Rickles about to insult me. So they yell action. The great Bob Saget directed the movie.
Come on.
Don had just finished Casino with Scorsese.
Yeah.
He went up to Saget and he said, "Bob, listen, I was talking to Martin Scorsese. I said, Marty, Bob Saget's directing a film. The man grabbed his chest."
Because I don't think about my motivation and everything, you know. If you're like working with De Niro 20 minutes, he's got to go in the closet to figure out why did I draw the gun? Why did I fire the pistol? Why? And I keep saying, Bob, it's Thursday, fire the gun, you know.
Enough of that actor mode.
So then Rickles gets to Norm. He's laughing, so they had to write him a line. He goes, "What are you laughing at? Because I called your friend a fat pig."
What are you laughing at? Because I called your friend a fat pig, huh? You think that's funny?
Oh, no, I was just laughing earlier when you were talking to his belly.
You get a horse and live in the mountains someplace. Don't bother anybody. Got a personality like a dead moth.
And then Norm goes, "No, I was just laughing when you were talking to his belly." So while we're filming in the movie, he goes to Norm, he goes, "How did you get a movie?" And Saget being a brilliant director, goes, "Cut. Don, you can't insult him as Norm Macdonald." That's not going to work, you know. We can't put him in the film. His name is Mitch.
It's awesome. That is awesome, man.
So
Come
Rickles goes,
on.
"Right." And the next thing he goes, "Look at you." He goes, "Who wrote this script? These jokes are horrible." Cut down, don't insult the script. We can't use it. So anyway, it was 18 hours of that. At the end of the day, I went up to him. I said, "Mr. Rickles, it was a pleasure working with you." And he looked at me and he said, "Listen, I was watching you all day, and listen, let me tell you something. Good luck working construction."
You know, Burt Lancaster is always the same way. When I did my first picture was when Silent Red Beat. Here's a kid. I walk on the set. Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster. The first movie of my life. Never saw a movie. He knows about this. And the guy said,
You write about it in your book.
Yeah. And it's true. Yeah. But Burt Lancaster said they were always on the side. He'd say, "You know, Donnie, come in. You gotta know what the submarines are about. Know why they die. Know why they come up." I said, "Burt, I know. Listen to me too." So I said to Clark Gable, I said, "Mr. Gable," he said, "Colby Clark." I said, "Clark, he's asking me about this." I said, "Forget that crap. Just do the lines and we'll go and have a drink."
That's right, Frank. I love you. Kumbati na venite verini kumbati. Tatti di rinte punti kungande rubante.
You spent a lot of time in your book on Sinatra. I mean, you really love this guy.
Very much so.
Yeah,
People can't figure it out. People can't figure it out.
Yeah. Why did he not have you killed? I mean, you would say terrible things. I don't understand it.
Because my manager at the time had other guys that could kill him.
That's good. But you tell that great. I mean, you probably told it a million times, but, but in the book, you write it very, very well.
Well, thank you.
The whole Sinatra story about when your dating wasn't going so great.
Yeah.
You finally get a date with a girl, and then you're there at the club in Las Vegas. You're eating dinner, and the girl turns and says, "I see Frank Sinatra over there. Do you think you could introduce me to Frank Sinatra?" And you did the most brilliant thing in the world.
Listen, can I tell a story about what this man did to me once? You may have known or heard about this. It was a true story. This was a long time ago, long before Don got married. I was eating dinner in a restaurant in New York, and I was sitting with some friends, and he came over to the table, and he said, "Frank, do me a favor, will you?" He said, "I'm sitting with a very pretty girl, and I'm trying to make out, And he said, "I told her I know you, and she really doesn't believe me. Would you stop by the table?" I said, "All right." I was just about finished. I was down to the espresso, and finally he went back, and I walked by the table, and I said, "How are you, Don? Nice to see you." He said, "And see, I'm eating, Frank." What you doing?"
Okay, we're getting better on this. This is awesome.
All the security was around. I said, "Frank, can I talk to you a minute?" And he said, "There's Bullethead." He called me Bullethead. She said, "There's Bullethead. What is it?" I said, "Frank, if you could come over a couple of minutes and just say hi to me with the girl, it would skyrocket me. I got a good shot at it, a home run, He said, "You got it, but don't come over right away." So I went back, and I was giving her that cheap champagne, and we were going, "To you, my darling," and her lips were dancing, and, my body was twinkling, And I tried to be cool, and I said, "Sweetheart, I just don't worry about it." And she said, "Look who's coming." And Frank struts over it. Had on this beautiful blazer in those days with an ascot. He goes, "Don, how are you?" And I got up and went, "Not now, Frank. Can't you see I'm with somebody?"
He thought that
he laughed his ass off, but he had the security guys lift me over their heads and carry me out of
the greatest story ever. Because for me, and I'm getting all serious on you, but really, you are one of the biggest influences in my life.
Oh, thank you, Howard.
It really is true. I mean, when I was a kid, and I would sit and watch you on the Mike Douglas show specifically, or
The Tonight Show,
or
any of
any
those
of these shows.
Yeah.
I whenever I get to go on Letterman, I go, if I could be half as good as Don Rickles was, I would be
Always
entertained.
a home run.
I get the chills saying this to you because I never saw anybody come out there and be so entertaining. And
Every time.
That's why when I go on these talk shows, it is so important to me to be entertaining, because I sat as a kid there next to my mother who was droning on about her problems. And then Don Rickles would come on and drown her out and make me laugh. And it was so magnificent. It was the most beautiful symphony I've ever heard. Those
Well, you should say hello.
Yeah, well,
Next guest is one of the greatest comedians of all time.
A legendary comedian, author, actor.
Decades. Decades of this guy,
This
man.
year alone.
Decades
The
of this
Merchants
guy.
of Venom.
That's why
the
sometimes I'm
star
having a
of
hard
the singer.
time
This year is supposed to
doing
come
the
for Radius.
commentary.
Here
right
is
along with
Mr.
this
Warp
because
himself, Don Rickles.
I wanted this. I wanted this is all we have now. There's no more of this. I mean, we had a lot of it, man. A lot of it.
I want to tell you something as a friend, really. With these two lovely Japanese girls, you made a fool of yourself.
Oh, what? You got another one that's on the list. I think we have about 3 of those now. 3, 4 of those right now. We go at 4.
You don't have to laugh. Just look at me and think.
I heard that you.
Why is he sitting here? Does he have to clean up or something?
He wanted to be out here.
Because it's not the land, it's a crazy guy. You're not going to have the land. You stupid guy, you're not going to have the land. It's no, this is not your land. You take a Carson cigarette box. Oh, look, it's a Carson cigarette box.
the hell happened to this? You know how long I've had the cigarette box on its desk?
You brought that up from New York City?
I brought this from New York. What on earth?
It happened last night.
Who?
Don Rickles.
I did not see the
Don
show
Rickles
last.
did it last night.
You put me on now.
No, Don Rickles did it last night on the show. He's taping across the hall. CPO Shark.
Can I get over there? Can I get over there?
Be right back. Is he in studio? Are they taping? Are they on the air? I don't give a damn if they're on the air.
Then why ask?
Rickles, stop the taping. Somebody broke my cigarette box. I just started the show. I picked my box up off my desk that I've had for 9 years. My box is broken. They told me you broke it on the show last night.
Well, I really.
You get to me.
No, but I'm sorry about the box. I will come up with something. Well, I hope so. But just keep me on your show. You mean so much to me. Could I?
No. Don't humble yourself.
Please, I want to be with you so bad.
Don't humble yourself, brother. I want something back. Okay, carry on. Help me. Carry on. Let's see. Johnny Clark. They know who I am. Okay, wait a minute. Why do you always do that? Johnny Carson, they know who I am. Don Rickles. No, you're a great guy, Don. You are. Not that we give a shit.
You're more than a relic of that era. You're still doing it. And Don, you are as fresh and funny now as you were 50 years ago.
There are millions of nice guys, hundreds of funny people, but there's only one Don Rickles.
From my heart, on behalf of my wife, Barbara and I, being part of Casino was a great treat. It was a Cadillac. You are a Cadillac. To me, that is the top of the industry. Wherever your wonderful mother is, who I loved and adored, as certainly you did in your family, she's watching and smiling on you. God give you the great strength and courage to continue your great work. You are special. Never forget that. You are special. God bless you, and I love you.
Really, from my heart. This is a long night.
I look around this room and this is the home of the blacks. And I say free. God bless you, black people. I love you. I really do. As you're laughing here, I'm sure one of you guys is up in my hotel room robbing me.
Oh my God! It's like, it's like,
From the bottom of my heart, I'm a Jewish kid from Jackson Heights, Long Island. And God gave me a big chance, and I kept punching and punching away. And my mother stood in the kitchen of all these rough clubs and said, he's funny, he's a funny kid. You'll love him, you'll love him. And to all of you, the love I've had, I wish for you. And I say for all of you that are here tonight, the main thing, may God give you health, and live a good life. And God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for helping make this such a wonderful evening. Good night, everybody.
I'll trade you laughter for love. I'll trade you one for the other.
It's not a whole lot that can be said here, folks, but I'm going to try because we don't want to have any problems. But I mean, you got to let a legend just breathe sometimes, man. Just let it go, you know, but got to pop in every once in a while. It's almost over, but, you know.
I'll give you all that I've got. I'll trade you sunlight for gold.
One shines as bright as the other. Love is pure gold, and laughter the sun. Right, this is my life, for all of my life, and you are part of this life I swear that it's true. I love to do what I do, to share this laughter I give, for just a little love from
Well, folks, we had the open bar for quite a while, and this was fun. We took a little bit of a look into the comedic talents, the quick wit, the deadly one-line ability at times of Don Rickles. I mean, he was a destroyer. He was funny. He was controversial before people even knew what controversial was. I mean, even at a point where people didn't have a whole lot in the way of filter, Don Rickles could still be a way that still made people, stand back a little bit and be a little shocked. There will be a constant thread of these people because it's these people that spur the world along in a way that spurred my world along, in a way that made me think critically and be a little more funny and be a little bit more, not take things so seriously, but do it in a clever way that still speaks to a certain point, but not always have to be so heavy about it. I can have a little fucking fun, and it's just the things of sometimes, angry feelings come into play and, you deal with what you have to deal with. And, life is life. And, as I do my whole Mr. Rogers thing here, as I take off my evening lounge jacket, as I get ready to retire for the night, I start thinking about, I'm going to do the things again. I've been drinking. It's fine. It's okay. It's cool, folks. But I start thinking about my own life, my own legacy, things that I want to do. And maybe not talking about myself so much. I'm getting into this habit and I'm liking it. Not talking about myself and talking about other people. But sometimes you got to talk about yourself because after all, you're a part of this. You're doing this. You're doing these shows. You're going to be partnering up and doing other things, doing other endeavors. So you got to talk about yourself. But, that's the whole thing about the hate and about dealing with the idiots out here. The bottom feeders, the scumbags. The people on the knees for the scumbags. You have to see it for what it is. And either you're going to say, I'm okay with their bullshit and I'm going to move along. Either you're going to just engage in a fight with them all day long and be unproductive and be thrown off your game and none of your shows go well because you're always fucking dealing with them. Or you can show them for the insignificant fleas that they are and do what you do. Show the numbers. See that as many people watch my shows by myself as they watch your shows with everything that you try to give. That's the truth. And you have to accept it. But, we're not going to keep going there because hopefully the good vibes that we're dealing out after 420, after the 420 weekend, that maybe we can just move on and there's no more talk of war and there's no more talk of conflict and of rivalry, and we can just move on with our endeavors, move on with our projects, and as the Beatles say, let it be. But we'll see. I just at least wanted to reach out, do a night owl lounge, open bar, take a moment to say, what did I really want to do? Just come off the top of my head, not have something pre-prepared, not have something already thought of, but just what do I really want to do? What have I always wanted to do? Just let me think of it. And it came to me. I wanted to do a highlight of some of the great comedians that, I dig. And in this one, I did a little bit on, I did it mainly on Don Rickles. Maybe the next Night Owl Lounge open bar, I may do it on, who knows? I mean, we may have to go and do we do an order? Do I have to start thinking about which order I want to go in? Who's the next guy after in my personal viewpoint? I mean, maybe it's not a personal, maybe it's not an overall saying that this guy is the top guy, but just saying my personal, these are my favorites from on down. So maybe I should do it that way. Because if I came up now and said, okay, maybe it was Richard Pryor, right after him, maybe it was Red Fox. Maybe some people wouldn't understand that. I love Red Fox. I love what he did, but it wasn't in my time frame. Richard Pryor was more in my time frame, and he spoke to more of what, I was liking in his comedy. It was just the way that I was connecting to. So it may be that, and people may not agree with the order that I'm going in, but I just want to preface that initially, that it's not saying that I feel like this guy's better than this guy. Is in a personal favorite situation. That may be the order that I go in. But let me stop talking to death on that. We have to start getting into, our closeout as you take your last drink and, you start getting your coats on maybe, and you're heading out, maybe heading home after a long night, or, maybe you're settling in. You may be getting into your nice night, night wear, maybe nothing at all. Maybe you're feeling a little sexy right now, and, maybe some things might happen. Who knows? But if you're lonely, if you're by yourself, all the women, there's a lot of songs here that says that if you're by yourself, you're not really by yourself. And because you're by yourself doesn't mean you can't satisfy yourself, I guess. So, hey, it's the lounge here, folks. I mean, we're adults. It's the adult type entertainment. So if you're having to do what you need to do, you need to go and you need to pop on to the next tab that you maybe have up on your laptop or your Chromebook or your PC or whatever you're watching, whether you may be watching this on, you may want to go and, do that and, have the sounds of the lonesome honeybee to be there for you. And I just want to say before I regale you with the lonesome honeybee, and as we close out for the night, I just want to say that, as we move forward, Delinquent Studios, Mainframe Magazine, 7 Day Island, as we move forward, I'm gonna keep a commitment to, YouTube, whether it's having these fun little moments like this to keep just bolstering, because I don't mind this, man. Look, an hour and a half has already went by, and you just, where does the time go when you're just talking and talking and talking sometimes, man? Positive vibes, you're not being, you're not having to deal with this. So it just feels good right now. It feels good that right now I'm not dealing with a bunch of bullshit, a bunch of fakery, and that this content will come to someone very cool. They'll get a nice little surprise. The open bar is always going to be a surprise. You may not know what will happen in the open bar. The next one may not be exactly right going into another comedian that I'm going to highlight. The open bar may go into something else. It's thinking on the fly. What's on my mind right now that I want to just jump right into? And it was comedy comedians and speaking in this nature. So this is what it was about. So I do appreciate, those who passed through and saw a few seconds of this. Those who gave me a like. Hopefully this one like is the only like and no dislikes. But if not, you got to do what you got to do and do what you have to deal with. And we get better. We'll do better things. We'll do better shows. And Delinquent Studios will bring you better shows and, bring in a collaborative house of Mainframe Magazine and 7 Day. The collaborative minds of 7 Day, the MC, producer, writer, author, and Herodotus H. Will Williams. Just call me H. Will. Call me H. Will, whatever you want to do. Mainframe Magazine, writer, author, creator, talk personality, talking head, whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm smarter than a talking head, but you make your own judgments. But as of right now, let's go ahead and go into that great night. We're going to that great morning, folks. Enjoy your time. Stay awake. Stay aware. Until next time.